Smoke rises in the sky, and the ground shakes under James Carter's boots as he walks alone into the broken remains of the alien fortress. His breath is slow and careful, and his eyes search every shadow. The battle outside has ended, but he knows the real danger is inside. They said the fortress was cleared, but his gut says no. Walls are cracked and blackened, and strange blue blood is sprayed across the floor. His rifle is ready, but his finger stays calm on the trigger. He steps over rubble and broken alien armor. Then he hears something, a sound that doesn't belong, a breath, soft and steady. Close he turns and a shadow leaps toward him, a tall figure armored in dark red, eyes glowing like fire, a female alien, a warrior of the feared Valari species, fast like lightning, strong like a machine. She attacks with claws and rage. James dodges the first strike, but the second hits his shoulder, and he stumbles back. They clash in the center of the ruined hall. She fights without fear, without pause, but James has fought for years. He knows her kind. They rush and they break, but they don't think. He uses his surroundings, steps onto a broken pipe, jumps, spins, and blasts a bright light in her eyes. She screams and grabs her face. James tackles her to the ground, his knee on her chest and his rifle to her throat. She stops moving, chest rising fast, but her eyes stay fixed on his face. Waits for her to growl or spit or roar, but she does none of those things. Instead, she blinks once, and her voice comes low, shaky, strange. "Please don't kill me, human. I'll warm your bed if I must." James blinks. Did he hear that right? What did she say? He pulls back slightly and stares at her. "What did you say?" His voice is hard but quiet. She turns her head away, her arms still trapped. She does not fight. "I know what you do to prisoners," she whispers again. "I will not resist." James feels a cold crawl down his neck. Not fear, not anger, something else. She is not begging for life. She is surrendering her soul. He pulls her up and cuffs her wrists with energy bands. She does not struggle. Her eyes stay down, but her jaw is tight like stone. He does not speak as they walk back through the halls, but his mind races. Who is she? Why did she say that? Was she trained to offer herself, or has she seen it happen to others? What kind of people do they think humans are? Silence grows heavy between them. Her armor is cracked, blood runs down one side of her face, but she does not limp. She walks with pride. Even now as they exit the fortress, the wind hits them. Hot and full of dust, dropships fly overhead. James sends the signal. "Prisoner secured. One survivor. Need pickup." The voice on the other end confirms ETA 3 minutes. Looks at her again. She stands still, tall, eyes closed, like she is already gone from this world. James steps closer. "Why did you say that?" he asks. His voice softer now. She opens her eyes slowly. "I was trained to fight, to win or die, but I lost. So now I am nothing. Your kind takes what they want from the weak. That is what our leaders told us." James shakes his head. "That's not what we are." She stares at him, not trusting, not hating, just empty. "I will not cry. I will not scream. Just end it quickly if you will not use me." James doesn't reply. He hears the dropship landing behind them. The engines roar. Soldiers jump out to take her, but he raises a hand. "I'll take her myself," he says. The others nod and step back. He leads her to the ship and helps her inside. She sits, but keeps her hands in her lap. James sits across from her, staring, thinking. This was not just a warrior. This was someone who expected cruelty. Someone who was ready to give up her body because she thought that was the only way to live, and yet she fought harder than anyone he had seen. She was brave, skilled, proud, but broken. As the ship rises, James looks out the window at the burning sky, but all he can see is the moment she looked up and whispered those words, "Something is not right. Something is bigger than just this war." He doesn't know what yet, but he knows one thing. This prisoner, this alien warrior, is the key to something he doesn't understand yet, and he's going to find out what prisoner or partner. The ship lands on a secure human base, hidden beneath the cold surface of planet E-17. Winds blow like whispers of war, and the sky stays red with the dust of forgotten Battles James steps out first, and behind him walks the alien warrior. Silent and still, her name is not known, her rank not clear, but her presence speaks louder than any title. She walks with metal cuffs on her wrists, but her eyes scan every wall, every face, every corner. The soldiers stare at her, some with fear, some with curiosity, and some with quiet hatred. James says nothing as they pass through the gates into the cold steel halls of the human stronghold. They enter a holding cell, not like a prison, more like a clean room with no sharp edges, no weapons, no mirrors. She sits without command and leans against the wall, calm like a statue. James watches her through the glass window as the lights dim and the silence grows heavier. Hours pass. She does not sleep, she does not move, but her eyes stay open, watching the shadows like she expects them to attack. James returns with food, simple earth rations packed for soldiers. He steps in and places the tray on the table. She does not look at it. She speaks without emotion. Is this the part where you test me? Do you see how long I survive without eating, or are you waiting for me to beg? James replies in a steady voice. We feed prisoners, we do not torture them. Eat if you want or not, your choice. Reaches for the food slowly, like it might vanish if touched. Her fingers move with the grace of someone trained, not born. She takes a bite and stops, chews and swallows, then stares at the tray. Strange taste. Soft. Not designed for strength, just for comfort. James nods. It is just food, not a weapon. She looks at him. Everything is a weapon, even kindness. A moment of silence settles between them. Then she asks, why did you not let them take me? Why are you still here? James sits across from her and folds his hands. Because you said something I cannot forget, and I want to know why. She leans back and closes her eyes. There's no reason, only survival. He shakes his head. That is not true. Your voice trembled, but your hands were steady. You feared something, but it was not death. You feared me. Why? She opens her eyes, and for the first time her face softens. Because you have power, not the power of war, but choice. You can spare me or use me or destroy me, and no one will stop you. That is power. James thinks for a long time. Then he speaks slowly. Where I come from. Power means responsibility. If I misuse it, I lose who I am. She tilts her head. That is a weakness. Among my people, mercy is punished. We are taught never to bow, never to feel. Then why did you surrender? Why speak those words? James' voice is calm but curious. She lowers her gaze. Because in that moment I wanted to live, even if it meant giving up everything. James leans forward. You are not a slave. You are a warrior. You had a choice and you chose to live. That does not make you weak. She looks at him with confusion, like the words are foreign. She speaks softer. Now I have never had a choice. Not since birth. We are trained in labs, taught to kill, shown pain, but never comfort. What you call weakness. I have never been allowed to feel. James nods slowly. Maybe it is time you do. Over the next few days things change. She starts eating without hesitation. She asks questions about Earth, about oceans, about laughter. She listens to music for the first time and says it sounds like memory. She holds a flower for the first time and says it feels like softness she never knew existed. James brings her books, simple ones with pictures and stories. She reads them quietly and returns them with questions. What is family? What is friendship? Why do humans cry when they are happy? He answers each one with patience, and she listens like a student in her first class. But not everyone in the base agrees with her presence. Some soldiers whisper that she is a spy. Some say she is playing a long game. Some just want her gone. James defends her each time, not because he trusts her completely, but because he sees something real behind her eyes. One night, while lights are dim and most are asleep, James finds her awake, staring at the sky through the small window. What are you looking at? He asks gently. She replies, the stars. They are free. They do not choose sides. They just shine. He sits beside her, and for a moment, they say nothing. Then she whispers, I do not know what I am anymore. Not a soldier, not a slave, maybe not even an enemy. James looks at her. Maybe you are something new. She turns to him slowly. If I am, then you are the first person to see me. And in that quiet night under the silent stars, something shifts. Not trust, not love, but the first spark of both. Whispers in the dark, the nights on E17 are longer then. Earth and colder too, and silence becomes heavier with each passing hour. Inside the human base lights fade to blue as rest mode begins, and most soldiers sleep while machines hum quietly like distant thoughts. In her small room, the alien warrior sits awake staring at the wall, with no expression, no sound, no movement. But her mind is not quiet. It is filled with voices, old orders, old fears, and something new, a warmth that feels like danger. She has begun dreaming not of war or fire or blood, but of water, of skies with no ships, of a voice speaking without commands, and of a face human, watching her not with hate, but with something strange and soft. She does not understand what the dreams mean. She was never allowed to dream before. Dreams were for weak minds, for those who forgot what they were born to do. Now, her dreams whisper things that shake her core. James notices the change. Her eyes are less sharp, but more alive. Her movements are still controlled, but no longer cold. She asks questions, but no longer like a prisoner, more like a person. She listens to music longer than before. Sometimes she closes her eyes when it plays. He watches her from the hallway window, most nights wondering what she sees when she looks at the stars. He does not ask. He waits. One night a silent alarm rings. James grabs his gear and rushes to the northern wall. An unknown signal is nearby, small. Fast, watching them from the hills, the alert is cleared within minutes. Nothing dangerous, just a scout drone. But it means someone is looking for her. James returns to the base and walks straight to her room. She's already standing near the door, eyes alert like she felt it from inside. "They found me," she says with no fear in her voice. "Just truth." James nods. "We think it was a drone." "Yours?" She steps closer. "Then they will come soon to take me, or to kill me." James looks at her. "Not if I stop them." She turns her head. "Why would you do that? I am not your friend, not your people, because you are not the same as them anymore, and maybe I am not either." She looks into his eyes, searching, measuring, trying to find the trick, but she sees only truth. That night she dreams again. This time the dream is different. She stands on a green hill, no weapons, no armor, just wind and grass and the sound of laughter. She turns and sees a human child running across the field. Then another, then a third. They run to her and do not fear her. They laugh and call her name, a name she does not recognize, but it feels like hers. She wakes up, breathing fast, her hands shaking, tears in her eyes. She wipes them quickly and whispers, "I do not know what is happening to me." Then next day, James gives her a choice. "Come with me outside the base, just for a short walk. No tricks, just wind and light." She hesitates, then nods once. They walk in silence past the walls, across the rocks, and toward a quiet valley. She looks at the open land and breathes slowly. "I never walked without command before. Every step I ever took was for Warno." "It is not," he replies. They sit near a small rise overlooking the broken world. She speaks softly. "When I was a child, they took me to the training corps. They removed my name, said it was weakness. I was told to forget softness, forget safety. Only the strong survive, and yet here you are. Maybe I was never strong. Maybe I just obeyed." Well, James looks at her. "Then maybe strength is choosing who you want to be." Now she says nothing, but her hands curl into fists and her eyes close for a moment, longer than a blink. That night the base loses power for 7 seconds. Emergency lights flash, all systems restart. James runs to her room. She is standing against the wall, but not alone. A soldier lies at her feet, groaning. She has disarmed him and broken his weapon. "He tried to kill me," she says calmly. "Said I was a risk." James looks down. It is one of the men who always stared too long, always whispered too loud. She does not ask for apology. She does not seek thanks. She just looks at James and waits. He walks to her slowly. "You are not safe here anymore, but I cannot move you yet." "Then let me help," she says. "Let me prove I am not what they think." "You do not have to prove anything. You already have." Later that night, she sits in her room again, but something is different. The walls do not feel like prison. The silence does not feel empty, and the darkness is no longer frightening, because now she has a voice in her. Dreams, a hand that pulled her out of death. A human who listened, and maybe, just maybe, a reason to become more than a weapon. The choice. The morning air on E-17 feels heavy, like it knows something is coming. Inside the base, the soldiers move faster. Their voices sharper, their eyes watching the sky, as if waiting for the storm to break. James Carter walks the hall with his hand on his sidearm. Not from fear, but from a sense that trust is running thin. He sees it in the looks and the silences, in the sudden quiet when he enters the room. They no longer whisper, just stare. She sits in her room. But today, she is not still. She paces like an animal in a shrinking cage. Her breath is controlled, but her heart is not. She feels it, the pull, the call. Something from her people is reaching her. James enters, and she turns before he speaks. "They are coming," she says. Her voice is not loud, but it cuts through the air like a blade. "I feel them. I know the pattern of their ships. They will be here within hours." James nods. "We saw something on the scanners, small fleet, fast. Looks like they are looking for someone. They are looking for me. Not to rescue, to test, to see if I am still theirs. And if you are not, they will end me before I speak." James steps closer. "What do you want to do?" She does not answer right away. She looks past him at the cold steel walls, at the sky beyond. Then she says, "I do not know who I am yet, but I know I do not want to return to who I was." Outside the base, soldiers prepare weapons. Turrets power up, shields hum in the background. Commanders argue in corners. Some say give her back, some say use her. Only James stays silent and watches the horizon. Later, she sits alone again. But not for long. A message arrives, not from humans, not from any known line. It is a voice deep, familiar, like a memory buried under battle. "Daughter of the flame, we come for you. Show us loyalty. Return with honor. Kill the human, and your place will be restored." She stares at the words on the screen, not spoken, only displayed like a challenge, like a knife on the table. James enters and sees the message. His jaw tightens. His hand hovers near his weapon. "You knew this would happen." She says, "I hoped it would not." He replies. She turns to him. "Do you trust Meadow? You trust yourself?" he asks. She does not blink. "I do not know, but I want to." "Then here is your chance." The base prepares for contact. 3 enemy ships land beyond the ridge. No attack, no warning, just a silent wait. James and she walk out to meet them alone. Wind whips around them, and the sun stays hidden behind clouds thick like smoke. From the lead ship steps a tall alien in dark armor. Eyes cold, voice colder. "You look small for a traitor," he says. She steps forward. "I am not your traitor. I am my own choice. Now you are nothing without us. Without purpose you are a shadow. Kill the human and return, or die as a joke in the dirt." James looks at her, but says nothing. This moment is not his, it is hers. She walks closer to the alien, her hands by her side. Voice steady. "I once believed in your orders. I killed for them. I bled for them. I gave everything. But I never lived. Now I have seen another way, not easier, not safer, but mine." The alien raises a blade. "So this is your answer. This is my truth," she says. Blade swings fast, precise, but it does not reach her. She moves like fire, like thunder. She grabs the arm, breaks it, twists and drops the blade. In seconds the fight is over. The alien lies on the ground, breathing but broken. The others from the ships do not move. They watch in silence. She turns to them. "You followed the strong. Now see where it led. No more chains. No more commands." Some lower their weapons. Some walk away. One kneels. She does not smile. She does not speak. Later in the base, she stands beside James. Soldiers watch her differently, now not as a prisoner, not even as an ally, but something new, something earned. Command calls. James says the higher council wants her moved to a secure station. He says no. She stays. They say she is dangerous. He says so is truth. That night she sits near the small window again. She does not stare at the stars. She watches her hands. These hands that once only took life, now they defended it. James enters with 2 cups of warm ration brew. He hands her one. She takes it. Their fingers touch for a second longer than needed. "Thank you," she says, "for what he asks, for letting me choose." And in that quiet moment, no weapons drawn, No command spoken. She becomes something her people never gave her, a word for free truths. Revealed, the wind across the surface of E-17 moves like memory, soft but heavy with meaning. The war has not ended, but something inside her has. For the first time she walks the base, without guards, without chains, without fear. The soldiers still watch her, but now their eyes hold something else. Not trust, not yet, but the beginning of respect. James walks beside her as they move through the lower levels of the base. He speaks of human history, of mistakes, of victories, of survival. She listens carefully. His words are strange but honest. He does not hide the darkness in his people, and she does not hide the weight in hers. She enters the communication room where records of the captured Valari ship are being decoded. She leans in as a message plays. Not a recent one, an old broadcast from her home world. A speech by a general, a father. His voice shakes as it speaks today. I send my daughter into exile, not because she is weak, but because she showed mercy. A Valari warrior does not hesitate. She did. A Valari warrior does not question. She did. I loved her once, but love has no place in war. Let her name be forgotten. Let her pain become strength. She stares at the screen, silent, unmoving. But her breath betrays her, shallow and sharp. A sound escapes her lips, not a cry, not a word, just a breath twisted with memory. James says nothing. He waits. She speaks at last. They told me he was proud, that I failed him, that I was weak. I believed them. But now I see he was afraid of what James asks, afraid. That mercy was stronger than hate. That feeling was not weakness but rebellion, and I was becoming something they could not control. She walks out of the room slowly, like every step is through a storm. Later, she sits alone in the observation chamber, watching the stars without speaking. James finds her there and sits across from her. She hands him a small piece of metal, worn and old, an insignia. What is this? He asks. Mark of a royal bloodline in Valari culture. I kept it hidden even from myself, because I thought it was shame. Now I see it was truth. So you are not just a soldier. You were born to lead. She nods. I was born to be a weapon, but chosen to be something more. My blood says royalty, my hands say warrior, but my heart, it is still learning how to be mine. James leans back and looks at the stars. What do you want now? She closes her eyes for a moment. I want to break the cycle, not just for me, for others like me. There are thousands raised as I was taught nothing but obedience and pain. They deserve the chance I was given. Then we give it to them, he says. Next day, she stands before the human high command through a secure channel, her voice calm but firm. I offer more than knowledge. I offer change. Let me speak to those who still fight against you. Let me reach them, not with weapons, but with choice. The council is split. Some fear a trap. Others see opportunity. James speaks for her, and his voice carries. Wait, permission is granted. A broadcast is prepared. She records her message in Valari dialect and in basic human tongue. She speaks not as a prisoner or soldier, but as someone who was both. I was told to kill. I was told to obey. But when I looked into the eyes of my enemy, I saw a reflection of what I had lost: freedom, purpose, name. If you hear me and feel the chains I once wore, know that they can be broken. The message is sent across several sectors. Some ignore it, some laugh, but others listen. One night an unexpected signal arrives, not from human allies, not from Valari command, but from a rogue Valari ship. A voice speaks. We heard her words. We do not wish to fight anymore. We are coming in peace. The base goes on alert, but she steps forward and says, let them land. James agrees. The ship lands, and from it steps a young Valari, barely more than a child, eyes wide, hands shaking. She kneels before the warrior and whispers, we thought we were alone. You are not. She replies. More messages follow. More voices rise, some in fear, some in hope. A movement begins, not large, not loud, but real. James watches her lead, not with orders, with presence, with example. She is no longer a weapon, no longer a prisoner, not even just a survivor. She is the start of something new. That night, James finds her outside under the sky. The wind is soft, the stars clear. He asks her, "Do you regret not going back?" She looks at him and says no. "Because going forward is finally mine to choose." He nods and smiles slightly. She smiles back just enough to be real, and in that quiet moment, two worlds begin to change, not with battles, not with orders, but with truth. The uprising. The days on E-17 grow louder as whispers of rebellion turn into voices and voices turn into steps and steps begin to shake the ground across systems once ruled by fear. Valari. Ships start changing direction, not toward war zones, but toward hidden channels where her voice once reached. James watches the data feed as reports pour in, ships surrendering units, going silent, commanders stepping down, not because they are weak, but because they are listening. She stands in the command room, not as a guest, not as a captive, but as a guide. Beside her stand three more former warriors marked by scars, but not shame. Each one found through her words, each one carrying a name now, not a number. They speak carefully, not like soldiers, but like people learning how to live again. The human high command meets through encrypted connection. Some question her rise, some question her reach, but James defends her again, and this time he is not alone. Others have seen what she has done. They speak of peace not as a dream, but as a growing reality. She travels to nearby sectors with James and a small unit, not for war but for witness. They meet with rebel ships, Valari defectors, hidden scientists, even young trainees who left their stations to find her. Each time she listens first, then speaks not with commands, but with truth. And the more she speaks, the more they follow, but not all accept this change. In the deep cold of Sector 9, a message is intercepted. A former high general has declared her a traitor and offered a reward for her death. He calls her the weak flame, the one who chose mercy over blood. He rallies old loyalists and they begin to move. James receives the news first. He reads the transmission, then walks quietly to her quarters. She is sharpening a piece of broken metal into a symbol. When he tells her, she does not flinch. She simply stands and says, "I knew it would come to this." That night they hold a quiet meeting. No big strategy, no long speeches. Only one question: will we run or will we face them? She does not speak until the others are done. Then she looks at the room full of former killers and current dreamers and says, "If we run now, we teach them we were wrong to stand. I would rather fall standing than live kneeling to fear again." They prepare not with heavy weapons, but with careful minds. They send messages ahead to safe units. Reinforce the base not with steel but with trust. They know the attack will come, and when it does, it will be fast. 2 days later, the enemy arrives. 4 warships, all painted black, no signals, no warnings. The skies above the base scream as the first blasts hit the outer wall. Sirens begin, but no one panics. They move with calm, because this time they know what they are defending. She stands in the center command post, surrounded by those who once would have killed her. Now they protect her. Now they follow her. James moves through the defense lines, giving orders, covering blind spots, keeping hope alive in his voice. But deep inside he worries. They are outnumbered, outgunned, until the unexpected happens. A 5th ship appears, not enemy, not marked. It sends a signal in Valari code, a name, her name. She looks at the signal and says, "Open the channel." The screen flickers and a familiar face appears. The young Valari girl who first answered her call, now wearing the symbol she once carved. "We heard your voice. Now hear ours. We stand with you." 5th ship fires not at the base, but at the attackers. 1, then 2. Then more signals appear from hiding, from shadows, from silence. The uprising has begun inside the base. Her people fight side by side with humans, not for orders, not for flags, but for something new. The battle lasts hours. Walls shake, skies burn, but they do not fall. When the last enemy ship retreats, silence follows. No cheer, no celebration, only breath long and deep. She walks through the base, checking the injured, holding hands, meeting eyes. She stops beside a fallen soldier and places a hand on his chest. He was human. He died protecting her. James finds her there and kneels beside her. He does not speak. He knows the cost she carries. She Stands slowly, looks at the stars, then says, "We survived the fire. Now we must build from ash." James nods, "But first rest." She finally rests that night for the first time in years, not because she is tired, but because she is safe outside the base lights. Flicker-on signals carry her voice again, not as a warning, not as a call to fight, but as a promise you are not alone, not a slave, not a killer. Just me. The stars above E17 shine brighter than before, as if the sky itself has changed below the surface. The base breathes with quiet life. Wounded are healing, walls are repaired. Voices now speak with hope instead of orders. And in the center of it all, she stands, not in chains, not in armor, not as a symbol, but simply as herself. She walks through the halls where once she was watched like a threat. Now heads bow slightly in respect, not because of her power, but because of her choice. She gave them something no weapon ever could, a new way forward. In the courtyard, young trainees from both human and Valari backgrounds gather. They train side by side. No ranks, no fear, just purpose. James watches from a high platform, a mug in his hand, steam rising quietly in the cold air. He sees her walking toward him, her steps steady, her eyes focused, but calm. "You missed the morning session," he says. She replies, "I have been writing something. Not orders, not strategy, something personal." She hands him a small device. He activates it and listens as her voice plays, recorded, but strong. "I was not born. I was built, trained, pushed into war. Before I ever spoke my own name, I was told what to kill, what to wear, what to become. But no one told me what it meant to live until I looked at the face of my enemy and saw something I never saw in a mirror, a question. Not who I was, but who I could be. Now I walk without a number, without a title. Not a slave, not a killer. Just me." James looks at her after the recording ends. No words, just a quiet nod. He understands. Later that day, she stands before the united leadership of the rebellion and human command. They have gathered to decide the next step: peace talks, borders, agreements. But she speaks before they dow. "Consign papers, build walls, draw lines. But if we do not change what is inside the minds of those we lead, nothing will last. I offer something simple. Let every soldier have a name. Let every child learn both science and feeling. Let every leader be chosen not by blood, but by belief." Some murmur, some nod. No one objects. That night a celebration begins. No ceremony, just people gathering in open space. Music plays from both worlds. Laughter echoes between metal and stone. It is not loud, it is not wild, but it is real. She sits beside James near a low fire. Others sit too, telling stories of who they were and who they want to be. One Valari soldier says he wants to grow plants. Another says she wants to paint the sky. James turns to her and asks, "What do you want?" She looks at the flames for a while before answering, "I want to learn how to sleep without fear. I want to wake without orders. I want to speak without planning every word. I want to dance even if I do not know how. Then do it," he says, one at a time. She nods slowly. For the first time her shoulders loosen. Her breath deepens. She laughs softly. When someone nearby trips over their own feet trying to dance near the edge of the gathering, a young Valari child watches her. She waves gently. The child waves back and smiles wide. That smile stays with her long after the fire fades. The next morning, she walks to the transmission room. A message has arrived. It is from a distant Valari colony, untouched by war. They ask if the stories are true, if she really lives free among humans, if they too can choose another way. She types her response carefully. Every word chosen with care. "Yes, you can. We are not enemies. We are not machines. We are not broken. We are waiting for you." Later, she walks through the base and notices the changes. The walls no longer feel like cages. The guards now stand relaxed. The silence no longer holds fear, but peace. She stops at the old cell where she was once kept. The door now stays open. Inside it is empty. Just a quiet room with clean walls and light. James walks beside her. Strange to come back, he says. She nods. "This place broke me, then rebuilt me. But I never want anyone else to start here." "Then they will not," he replies. She walks out and does not look back in. The final gathering before her departure, she stands before both races. Not to lead, not to rule, but to speak one last truth. I carry no flag, I make no demands, I only ask this. See each other, not as threats, not as tools, but as mirrors. You will find pain, you will find anger, but if you choose, you will also find yourself. I am not who I was, and you do not have to be either. When the speech ends, there is silence, then a rising wave of voices, not in cheer, but in agreement, as Goltha. The sun rises above E-17 for the first time without smoke or fire. She steps onto the ship, ready to visit the colonies that now call her name. James stands by the ramp watching her with the same calm she once feared. She smiles and says, I do not warm beds anymore. Unless it is yours. He does not answer. He only smiles, and in that final moment, as stars open once again, she is not a weapon, not a whisper, not a ghost. She is free.